I've got this vintage Pioneer 1160 chainsaw. It's got no spark. I'm in the process of taking it apart, but as you can see there, I've got another one here. This is a 2270, and it's got the same ignition parts. So this is my part saw. It's got spark, so I'm gonna first start by taking the flywheel off. You basically have to do that just to get the coil off because it's kind of screwed underneath here. It's on a big piece of white metal there. It goes right under the flywheel. So I'm going to do that, take that off, and try to get this one running because it seems in better shape. So I'm going to show you how to take the flywheel off. So I'm just going to start by inserting a rope in the cylinder just to lock up the engine while I'm taking the nut off the flywheel. So I'll put as much rope as I can in there. The nut on the flywheel looks like a 9/16. I didn't realize it, but the nut on this Pioneer chainsaw is reverse thread. So to take it off, you basically gotta do as if you're tightening it. So the nut's coming off. I'm going to take off this little grill here. It looks like a 3/8. So I've got the grill off. I'm just going to put the nut, tighten the nut flush with the shaft. Like that. A good way to take the flywheel off is if you've got it suspended, you just tap the nut just gently. So now the flywheel has come loose. Next I'm just going to take the nut off completely. You don't want to keep tapping too much if it won't come off because you don't want to damage the tip of the crankshaft and the nut there, so that should come off. So now I've got the flywheel off. I'm going to check the points. Everything looks pretty clean there for an old saw. I'm going to see if the problem could be in the points before replacing the coil. Here it says to set the points at 0.015 thousandths of an inch. So I'm just going to check for that. So you can see in there the points are opening a bit. I'm going to tighten the nut and turn the crankshaft to see how the points function. So we'll see how things work. So they're opening and closing properly. Next I'll just put my feeler gauge in there to see what they're set at. So I'll check with my 15 thou feeler gauge setting. It's a bit tight in there. Just going to open the points up a bit. So I'm just going to loosen this screw to do that. Then I'm just going to put my screwdriver in here. And just pry it open a bit. If you go to pry them open and they won't open up, just loosen the screw again. And you want to make sure when you tighten up the screw that the points don't open up more than they should. So it's just trial and error. So I think I've got it set properly. I'm just going to try my gauge again. And always make sure that the lobe is at its highest point before you do all the settings. So it's just snug in there. Not too loose, not too tight. Before I put it back together, I'm going to run a fine piece of sandpaper between the points, like a 400 grit or 600 grit emery paper, like this. Sometimes the points just need a light sanding, and they'll work again. So I just turn the lobe till the points are closed. Then I open them up with a screwdriver and insert my sandpaper in there. Then shut the points, and then just pull like that. And you can feel it sanding the points just lightly. So I'm gonna run this like that about 10 times. Okay, so I'm done sanding the points, so I'm just going to reassemble the saw. Next, you just want to line up the keyhole with the keyway on the crankshaft. There's a washer that goes there. Then this nut, remember it's a reverse thread nut. You want to make sure that the starter paws are out of the way. I'm just going to lube the paws a bit before I put it back together. So I'm going to see if all this work paid off. I got the plug ready and the switch on. There, good. It did work. So the combination of readjusting the points and cleaning them paid off. Now I'm going to try it out and see what happens. So because it hasn't ran in a while, for a number of years actually, I'm going to take the carburetor cover off and spray some penetrating oil that is flammable, just to get it going quick. This saw here has no choke, which is kind of annoying. There's a primer here only. Just gonna see if this primer works. I don't feel any gas going. Seems to run pretty good. Actually, I'm impressed. I'm surprised that after all these years in storage, she's running good. So I'm gonna tighten up the chain, give it a quick sharpening, and give it a test run in the log.